Now you guys know I love me some JRPGs. I can make video after video about what they mean to me and how much I like them. However, there are a few out there that really disappointed me, and there are some that I think are just trash. I gotta keep it real on the channel. That's how we all grow. That's how these companies grow. And pretty much disclaimer for this, I'm a fan of almost every game that I have on this list. I'm a fan of its franchise. So it's about keeping it real. It's about staying balanced. It's about looking at things objectively sometime. There's maybe only one game on here that I'm not particularly fan of the franchise, but it's all about keeping it real, guys. Just because it's by your favorite company or your favorite studio or your favorite franchise doesn't make it automatically legendary or a masterpiece. Sometimes it just is what it is. So without further ado, guys, we're going to jump into my list of games, JRPGs, that really disappointed me. And I had some relatively decent expectations for them, but man, they just did not live up to the expectations. I'm curious to see what are some of the JRPGs you guys are disappointed with. All right, enough talk. Let's jump into the video. And just before we start the video, I want to give a quick shout out to all of my channel members: Duridan, Jesus is God, Gloria Lawson, and Callisto. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel financially. It really means a lot to me. We're going to keep on growing because of people like you. Thank you so much. Let's jump into the video. So first up, it pains me to put this one on the list, but this is Legaya 2 Dual Saga, which is the sequel to Legend of Legaya. And as you guys know, Legend of Legaya is one of my top 5 JRPGs of all time. So it pained me when I realized the sequel was not living up or going to live up to the expectations that I had of the first game. Now, starting with the good, there is some good qualities here. That awesome battle system is still in place, and I really do like some of the attack animations, and I like the flow somewhat of the combat. But then that's kind of where everything falls apart. The characters are much more bland than the characters from the first game, and that's pretty hard to do because Vaughn is literally a silent protagonist, but Lang just didn't quite do it for me. He's okay, but everyone else I just did not like really at all. Maya is a silent character, but she's primarily useless to about 25% of the game, and it was just an infuriating game design choice to have in a character that was just wasted space. Yes, I realize she gets better as she unlocks her potential or whatever. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. But it just wasn't for me. I think the environments were bland. The way that Lang runs is bland. This game took a step down in quality, unfortunately. I do believe that a different company might have took over the helm of the Legaya series for part 2, but you can just see the step down in quality, but then you can also see the potential for greatness. I think if this game had just cooked a little bit longer in the oven, baked a little bit longer, it would have been a better effort than what they put out. I think they put it out too fast, too low effort, probably not enough budget, and they just didn't try to innovate much from the first game. I greatly missed the mist. I greatly missed the impending danger of all of the different servants of the mist and the Siru. I just missed the essence of the first game, and not necessarily did the second game have to do the same thing. It's just it didn't do anything quite well. The story is so bland and boring in this game. I was just never engaged at all. I was just always never engaged in this game's story, and that is a huge no-no for a game that series that had a potential to have a great story. And I will admit, this game is probably the least offender on my list because I did enjoy parts of this game, but I stopped enjoying it somewhere around when you have to backtrack. Oh man, the backtracking in this game is terrible. It just is such a slow slog through environments and places you've already been. The music is also really nothing too amazing to write home about. You do have this awesome battle theme playing that was done by Yosunori Mitsuda, who is a legend as we know, so that's one redeeming quality. But again, this game is the least offensive on my list. It just was not my cup of tea, despite being such a huge fan of the first game. This game was definitely a JRPG disappointment for me because I had high hopes going into the future with the Legaya series, and effectively this game killed the series. It probably sold terribly. It wasn't even enough to even prompt interest to do another sequel. So Legaya 2 Dual Saga is definitely one of those JRPGs that disappointed the mess out of me. I'm still disappointed to this day. This game could have been so much more greater, but unfortunately all we got was just the essence and hint of that great Legaya battle system while being in a shell and husk of its former self. Legaya 2, you disappointed me. Next, I'm going with Tales of Zesteria. Now, you guys know I am a huge Tales of fan. I've probably played over 15 Tales of games in my career so far. But let me tell you, I absolutely do not like Tales of Zesteria at all. I didn't like it before it came out, and I didn't like it after it came out. There was nothing particularly about this game that I liked. Soray, Mikleo, none of the characters did it for me at all. I didn't like the bland animations. Like, they're just standing there after the battle. There was like no personality. There was no feeling. The game just seemed very, very generic for me. Yes, it tried to introduce the open world and things like that, but what good is an open world if there's really nothing in it? A lot of these developers fall into that trap of doing that, and Zesteria, I just didn't like anything about the game, really, guys, to be honest with you. And this is not to just be negative or bash it. It's still that good old Tales of formula and spirit, but it was just the Tales of formula and spirit at its worst, in my opinion. Not to mention the whole situation with the Alicia DLC post-game and things like that. Zesteria effectively really hurt the Tales of franchise, and for that, I consider it a disappointment because Tales of Berseria had to come and clean up its mess. And I've never really forgiven Zesteria for putting the Tales of franchise sort of in a bad spot in the modern age. I really have not forgiven it for doing that. Of course, bygones be bygones, but at the time, I was really afraid for the Tales of series. I was like, is this the end because of the way that Zesteria did? It also lost a lot of fanfare, into which I think the Tales of series is still recovering from. If it wasn't for Arise, it was still a little, a recovery period, a healing period. Now I do know Zesteria has like an anime and it has other collaborations and things like that. But man, I didn't like this game's battle system. I thought it was very glitchy, very wonky. I didn't like the co-op system. I particularly was not fond of the whole, I forget what it was called, but when the characters merged together to make one character, oh man, I just was not a fan of anything really in this game, guys. And I say that as a huge Tales of fan. But this game was just not for me. It was just one of the biggest JRPG disappointments I've ran into so far, and I've still not changed my mind on that. I'm not a fan of Tales of Zesteria at all. From the battle system, the scope of the game, the characters, the music is okay. The music is somewhat nice, but I really don't like anything about this game. I'm sorry, guys. Now, I know some of you are like, wait, what? You don't play any Final Fantasies? Well, I did try at some point, and my first real one that I would say I really gave a chance and was excited for and hyped for was Final Fantasy 13. Now, I realize this may get some flack, and you might dislike my video right about now, but that's okay. I like dislikes too. I'm just playing. But no, I was disappointed by Final Fantasy 13, guys. This was me not being a Final Fantasy fan. When I first saw this game, I had a lot of high hopes because I'm like, maybe this is the game that will finally get me into the Final Fantasy series. But I don't know, man. This game, while beautiful at certain points, and I certainly appreciate its scope, its design, and the world that it tried to build, ultimately, every time I played it, something just fell flat. I don't know if it was the characters. I don't know if it was lightning. I don't know what it was about Final Fantasy 13, but I truly tried to like this game. I wanted to like this game so much. I wanted to support a female protagonist, but I just could not bring myself to really enjoy this game. I didn't really click with any of the characters, and you guys know characters are so important for me. They make or break a JRPG for me, really. You could have a subpar story, but at least the characters gotta really show out. Lightning is okay, but I felt like in certain times she just tried too hard. She was just so edgy, you know what I mean? She was so edgy for the sake of being edgy sometime, and it kind of got a little annoying. Now we move over to the battle system. I wanted so much more for this battle system. I could not get into it. I tried and I tried and I tried. but every time I just wanted it to just be an action JRPG. If you're gonna do all of this stuff, just be an action JRPG. I felt like the game was stuck in between trying to be turn-based, real-time, and action all at the same time. And it was just very confusing for me, especially being a newbie when it came to Final Fantasy. Now, you can blame this part on me for just not knowing how Final Fantasy works or not knowing how these real-time battle systems work when it comes to the Final Fantasy franchise. But for me, it was confusing. It was convoluting for no reason, and it was just too much and too less at the same time for me. I just wanted to do more, but I felt so restricted. But again, there are some redeeming qualities about this game, like the music is on point. I love this battle system music, even to this day. It's so iconic. I love it. The graphics were great at the time too, and the presentation and what the game tried to accomplish was big back in the 2010, back in the 2011 PS3 era. So I will always give it respect for that. But ultimately, it just wasn't my cup of tea, especially with me being new to the Final Fantasy franchise. And to be real, I have not tried a Final Fantasy since, guys. So if I came in on the wrong game, again, you can blame me for that. That's my fault. But I thought this game would be the game to get me into the series, as I'm not really into the series. Disclaimer, I do appreciate and respect the Final Fantasy series because of its impact on this genre and the impact that it's made on the industry as a whole. So it gets ultimate respect. This is no disrespect. The games are just not for me, and I thought this game would be it, but it wasn't. Now, I did enjoy the leveling up system and the intricacies of getting your character skills up. I still think it's one of the best that I've played so far. I really like how intricate it is. I really like how you can use the CP and the crystals and stuff like that. Again, beautiful looking game, awesome concepts. It just kept falling flat for me. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. So maybe I'll try another Final Fantasy again someday, but with the way that the series is still looking now, I'm still not that interested, guys. Now, if you guys watch my top 10 JRPGs of all time, you guys would know that Brave Fencer Musashi is in my top 10 JRPGs of all time. This game came out in 1998, and it was a little jewel and gem of a JRPG on the PlayStation 1 system. The way that it blended platforming with a quirky comical story with the awesome action JRPG elements, as well as things like a day and night system and finding survivors, it was one of the most unique JRPG experiences I have ever played. When a sequel got announced, I was so hyped back in the day in the 2000s, early 2000s. And what I played was one of the biggest disappointments and abominations to a sequel I have ever played. Yes, I'm not holding back on this one, guys. Y'all just gonna have to get mad at me in the comment section. Musashi Samurai Legend was not a great sequel or follow-up to the Musashi series at all. It just became a generic husk of the early 2000s, trying to utilize that PS2 power. I get it. But, you know, the graphics look cool. I love the cel shaded, so I'll try to be a little positive. But everything else about this game, I do not like at all. There are no redeeming qualities to this game. It's not reminiscent of the first game at all to me. It is just shallow, it's generic, it's boring. I hated the voice acting. I hated the combat. They took a certified classic and messed it up. I do not like Musashi Samurai Legend, the sequel apparently, or the next game to Brave Fencer Musashi. The original game is a classic. It's beautiful, it's underrated, it needs a remaster or a remake, it needs to come back. But they absolutely lost their way with this sequel, and I'll never forget. I think I played this like for an hour or 2 hours when I first rented it, and I took it back. I didn't even finish my full 5 days of the rental because I disliked Musashi Samurai Legend that much. So to me, this is even worse than the Legaya 2 Dual Saga follow-up. This is one of the worst follow-ups to a classic that I've seen, in my personal opinion. A lot of people don't even know this game exists because that's how, honestly, it deserves to be that way. You only need to remember Brave Fencer Musashi, and you know what? I don't think I'm going to waste any more time on this video to this game because I did not like this game at all. To those of you who might have liked this game, tell me why I should reconsider, or tell me why I should give this game another shot. But right now, I did not like the sequel to Brave Fencer Musashi at all. Moving on. And last but certainly most least is Star Ocean 5. This game is trash, and thank you for watching the video. Okay, never mind. I'll be honest, I'll be fair. Okay guys, this game is probably my singular biggest JRPG disappointment of all time. I told friends about this game and they went out and bought it. I put my cred, my reputation on the line when it came to this game, and this was one of the worst JRPG experiences I have ever had. I mean, what in the no-nos was this game? I did not like this game's graphics. I hated this game's battle system. I absolutely disliked this game's story, as it was basically nonsensical and non-existent. I mean, I know the whole story. Coming off of Star Ocean 4, we were lucky to get a sequel because of Star Ocean 4. It didn't do exactly the best. Even though compared to this game, Star Ocean 4 is a freaking masterpiece. Do you hear me? Now, I love 2 and 3 the most, obviously. 4 was a little shaky, but it has a great battle system. But 5 is the worst of the worst, the lowest point of the Star Ocean franchise. And honestly, it pretty much killed Star Ocean for a couple years until recently we got Star Ocean 6, which managed to win back a little bit of the grace that this series used to have. But I mean, talk about no redeeming qualities, reused assets all the way from Star Ocean 3. I mean, the character Fidel literally has the same animations and moves as Fate from a 2003 game. I get their budget was terrible for this game, but let's just not release it at all. Just sit back, build your assets, and try to release something that's at least small but quality. This game was small and not quality. It was just still my biggest JRPG disappointment of all time. I do not like Star Ocean 5. I took the game back. I sold the game. It was just, I was so disappointed. And I'm saying this mostly not to be funny or hateful or vengeful or anything like that, but it really hurt. It hurt how much I did not like Star Ocean 5, and it remains my most disappointing JRPG experience to this very day. And I say this as a huge Star Ocean fan. You guys know, but I like to keep it real. I don't like to sit up here and just because it's Star Ocean means that I'm going to be nice to it. No, trash is trash, quality is quality, and I'm always going to keep it real. I do not like Star Ocean 5. From this game's graphics, to the story, to the characters, to the gameplay, to the music. The music I can't even call bad because it's reused from Star Ocean 3. So I just did not like anything about this game, and I like to pretend that it does not exist when it comes to Star Ocean. Again, guys, this is my opinion, man, so don't take it too personal. If you like some of these games on this list, like it to all your heart's capacity. Don't let me stop you. These are just the games that disappointed me. Yeah, guys, that's my list. Those are some JRPGs that really disappointed me, man. I had high hopes for each and every single one. I hope there are some obscure titles on here that you guys may not have heard of if you're new to the channel. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting that like button, man. If you enjoyed it, it really helps us grow. It really helps add you to the community. And be sure to comment down below, guys. I love responding to the comments. I try to get as many as I can. I get a lot more these days, so it's hard to reach everybody, but just know that I love each and every one of y'all. God bless, keep on gaming, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.